Gangnam Korean barbecue. That's a shelter in place there. And then from my friends said that because of all the road closures, we went all the way here to meet his dad.
Convention Center, and we're also getting a statement from the Raiders as well.
Yeah, and here's what it says. It says the Las Vegas Raiders are deeply saddened by the tragic events that occurred at UNLV today. Our hearts go out to the victims, their families, and all those affected by this senseless act of violence. We are committed to helping our friends at UNLV and also the greater Las Vegas community heal, and are grateful for the efforts of our first responders. And of course, we know our first responders also dealing with tragedy of their own after they lost two of their own last Thursday, when a suspected drunk driver hit and killed two troopers. And so it's really been a tough time.
Are you kidding me?
For Las Vegas.
The first funeral for the first troopers Friday, and the next one's on Monday.
There was supposed to be a fundraising event, a candlelight memorial for the Injured Police Officers Fund, an organization that raises money for families impacted by tragedy. They postponed or just put off tonight's event after the shooting. But yes, a lot of hurt. And Dana, you're learning some more information from the national news.
You know what, I want to talk about this. Obviously, it's getting national attention tonight. It's probably the lead story in all of the newscasts tonight, the national newscasts around the country. But this from USA Today, and I'll quote it. It says a shooter at UNLV sprayed bullets into crowds at two campus buildings during a lunchtime assault that killed at least 3 and caused panic among students who ran in horror from end of semester classes before the shooter died at the scene. They say that the shooter entered the Beam Hall first, and then 20 minutes later entered the Student Union building. So we have 2 different locations. We know that 3 victims are dead. One's in critical condition. We don't know where they were shot, which building they were shot, but we do know that the suspect in this case is also dead.
And NBC News reporting their investigators saying that the suspect, identified only as a man in his 60s, no exact identity or motive in this case very early on in this investigation.
Yeah, and of course, when anything like this happens, the first thing you think after you want to know if everyone is safe is why.
Yeah.
And that's going to be a long road. Of course, our crews continue to get reaction from people at the scene there, living out their worst nightmares. Let's go ahead and listen to another person who was there at the campus at the time.
I was in the Central Desert Complex, which is about 5 minutes away from the Student Union. So then we just heard loud pops, and then we hear on the radar, on the telephone, we hear, I'm in there with the director of student conduct. So he's just telling us, like, just stay in there, and then, like, don't go out. And then I go outside to get over here where I'm at right now. This is like a 10-minute walk. And then there's police officers carrying assault rifles, like telling me, keep your hands in the air, walk on the sidewalk. You know, it was very distressful. Like, everybody, we're just sitting out here, we don't know what's about to happen next. Like, but, you know, as a student, you know, when you come to school, you know, I'm from a different state. Like, you would never think that, you know, you're coming somewhere else and that it's going to be unsafe. You know, I just want to go to school and have a good time. I don't think I should be worrying about whether I'm going to die or not.
I immediately felt sick. I was trying to compose myself because I'm trying to be good for her. But just immediately we were trying to talk to her and find out what was going on, and I said I can't. I got to get in the car and get down there at least, you know. When she is evacuated, I'm at least here to take her home. So.
And at least you're on FaceTime with her and her father as well. She's in her dorm saying that she is okay, safe, but now it's just kind of waiting.
It is. At this point, it's like like I said, you're trying to keep it together, and when you find out that most likely they're safe, it's just a flood of emotions, because you really don't know. You're hearing from this and that and this, and then you're seeing all these cop cars, and you just don't know. It's
just overwhelming.
A mother's anguish.
You can only imagine what she was thinking, and hopefully her child is okay. Let's go ahead and check in now with Drake York. He's joining us on phone. You're a witness there. You saw the aftermath of the UNLV shooting. Can you tell us where you were when danger was near?
Yeah, I was in the Student Union building up in the meeting centers, and one of my friends said that they got a text that there was a shooting, and I mean, afterwards we all kind of hunkered down, and it was scary.
And so you were in a room, right, with other students at the time? I mean, what kind of action did you take when you got the notification on your phone that there was an active shooter on campus?
Well, there were already people who were kind of figuring out what was going on, so we all kind of like hunkered down in the corner, you know, like the whole duck and cover thing that we were taught in school. And I mean, it was scary, but a lot of us just started texting family and friends and, you know, standing by exit doors and making sure that all the doors were locked. And I mean, yeah, checking and making sure that what was going on was updated to everybody. A lot of people were kind of, you know, talking to each other and making sure that information was spread around the entire room, which was a big relief, right? So, I mean, I think that as a whole, we handled it well.
And Drake, I'm happy to hear about that. Where are you now? How did you make it out to safety?
Well, we all waited for at least 20 minutes, and we were escorted out by Metro to a parking lot across the street from UNLV on Maryland, where, you know, like the Chiba Hut? It was right there. And my friend Derek Washington, thankfully, he picked me and a couple of people who were at the campus with us up, and we met up with another friend of ours. And, you know, we just discussed what was going on. Like, what else can you do in a situation like that except, you know, confide in friends?
So the shooting started at Beam Hall and continued in the student union. That's where you were. Did you hear any shots fired? And then when you were finally released from your location, were you able to witness anything, any victims on the ground, police presence? Did you see the suspect?
I actually saw the suspect. He was cuffed and shot. I mean, there were at least 4 shots in his back, but he was on the floor. I mean, it's like watching a candle go out, right? It's pretty terrible. But, I mean, yeah, I saw Metro. They escorted us out, of course, and made sure that we were okay. But a lot of it is just upsetting. I mean, like people just starting their lives, right? Going to school. A lot of us are kids still. I mean, we're legally not kids, but we're kids, right? And somebody just decides that they're going to snuff us out. Like, that is just evil. It's terrible.
It's a nightmare. And Drake, we're so glad you're okay, but I'm sure you're still trying to process. How are you doing right now?
I'm okay. I mean, I have friends who had friends in the building that first had the shooting starting anyways. And I mean, like, I've been trying to text them and figure out what's going on with their friends, but they haven't texted me back. And I mean, I'm just grateful that me and my friends and other students that I know and family and stuff made it out okay. But it's terrifying. I mean, I'm angry more than anything else that somebody would even decide that they wanted to, you know, kill people, right? Like, it's different when you hear about it and when it happens. Because, like, as a group of people, right, as a society, we have decided that this stuff happens and it's sad and it's horrible, but it happens all the time. And reading about it on the news and seeing, like, tweets and Instagram posts about it is different than experiencing it in person. There's something it's terrifying. I mean, texting my mom and telling her that I love her and that I'm in an active shooter situation it's heartbreaking. I mean, it's scary. And I mean, I don't even know if my friend's coworker and his friends made out okay. And I don't know the whole situation because it hasn't been communicated, but it's just scary.
So we've talked to other students that were there on campus today, and we've asked them if they're willing to go back to campus. And I'll ask you the same question. Where do you stand on that? Are you willing to go back to UNLV in the future?
I mean, yeah, I have my stuff there. And I mean, also, like, I have friends there. And I know that further on, we're going to be, I mean, UNLV as a campus is most likely going to be more careful with, like, protecting other students and whatnot. But until I get information on what's going on with security and what's going on with catching people, I don't want to go back on campus. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to like mince my words here, but it's a little traumatic. I mean, hearing bangs and you know, like a bunch of people banging on doors and shouting and stuff is not fun.
Drake, we know a lot of you are from Las Vegas and have family here. Is that your situation, or are you one of our out-of-state students? I just want to make sure you have a support system.
Well, I mean, I have I live here. I just moved here. I have friends and family here. I actually go to GCU online. And I was here helping for an event for like organizing students and making sure they're okay, and like that we advocate for our rights as students. But I'm okay. I have family. I have friends here. I just hope that there's other people who are in a similar situation, and I want to make a difference. I want to help. I'm not going to just let this be something that happened and that, wow, that sucked, it's over with, I'm going to move on with my life. No, I'm going to see if I can make a difference somehow.
Drake, thank you so much for saying that. Thank you for sharing your resilience, and we wish you all the best. Again, let's go bring up this community event that is happening tonight. The historic 5th Street School. We will have a crew there as well. It goes from 7 to 8:30 tonight. There'll be music. There'll be grief counselors. This is a community event, and they want people to come to just be together, to comfort each other. And the word resiliency, the Vegas Strong Resiliency Center, that was born out of 1 October. Yeah. And already we're hearing from people like Drake saying, how can I be there for my community?
Yeah,
as someone who experienced it.
And I think that's the encouraging part of it, is when you hear them, say, especially Drake saying, I'm not going to let this just be the end of it. I want to make a difference. And certainly that's not where everyone is right now, because they're still trying to process and they're still trying to make sense of, quite frankly, what you cannot make sense of. But the latest information that we've learned tonight is that we have someone, a male in his 60s, is to be the believed shooter here, who is now deceased. And some of the people we talked to today say they actually saw that person lying on the ground. They will not be the same.
Little breaking news from Drake there too. We didn't know if the shooter took his own life or if he was shot by police, but he said that he noticed 4 gunshot wounds to the back of the shooter, which means that he was actively engaged by either university police or Metro Police or
someone
both.
else,
or someone else
possibly.
with a gun, exactly.
Yeah.
Metro Police will be also having another update at 5 o'clock, another press briefing, so perhaps we'll learn more information from that. Sheriff McMahill will be addressing the media and, of course, the rest of us here in Southern Nevada.
Yeah, we're also hearing from a number of entities. We heard from the Raiders earlier. Now we're hearing from the champion Vegas Golden Knights saying, quote, our hearts are with the victims of today's tragic events and events with our entire community. We pledge our support for all those affected and are eternally grateful to the first responders who serve our valley. And of course, we know that they have a special relationship with this community, because it was shortly after we had our darkest night in this community, 1 October, that mass shooting that killed ultimately 60 people. The Vegas Golden Knights, Vegas born, and they were new to our area, and they rallied and came to support. And I think that's one reason why you find so many people who are suddenly hockey fans here in the desert, because they did everything they could to try to help this community get back on its feet.
I think it was the first home game in the history of the Vegas Golden Knights. Came 9 days on October the 10th, right after 1 October, 9 days later. And Derek England, the defenseman who met his wife in Las Vegas when he was playing minor league hockey. His children were born in this community. He still works for the Golden Knights. And
he gave a moving speech.
Yeah,
it really
it gets me emotional now.
It gets me choked up just thinking about how he was speaking about his daughter being born here, and that he had so much faith that this community would come together and heal. And we're starting to hear about that now. Again, people wanting to come together just to be together and to show that we are not alone.
Yeah.
He ended the speech with, "We are Vegas strong."
And that's something that we're going to continue to say here as we await to hear more about this horrific ordeal playing out at UNLV today. Sadly, 3 people dead because of this. 1 person still fighting for their life this hour. We're going to hear from police at any moment here. At 5 o'clock is when we're expecting that. And right now you're looking at Metro headquarters as we await to hear word from them to find out what exactly happened. Our Denise Rosh is actually there as well. Denise, if you can hear us, hopefully she cannot hear us, so we'll check it back in with her later. But again, we're waiting for them to open the doors there and tell us what they've learned at this hour. But as we talk about VGK ingratiating themselves with the community, I can't help but to think back on that original night. I had only been here for 10 months. So imagine getting that call and quickly started to learn what Las Vegas is. And I think that the people who are watching, I've heard that at some points we've been simulcasting with national news. They've been following our coverage tonight. They're learning more about this community, this strong community, this great community that none of us are from, but yet we've all made it home. And we've been here for years now. And it's because we have met such amazing people here who are strong and who ultimately come together when tragedy strikes.
Yeah.
We're seeing that once again.
One of them is Jim Snyder. He joins us live from campus of UNLV, and you moved to this town in 1991. Your son was born in Las Vegas, and so things that happen today on the campus of UNLV probably hit someone like you a little bit differently than maybe somebody new to our community.
No doubt, Dana. Yeah, Riley was born at Sunrise Hospital just up the road, where as we've been hearing, the victims from today's incident have been treated. And I can tell you, as far as what's going on right now, you see these motorcycle officers. Some of the police presence beginning to peel off here. We just had another 6 or 8 motorcycle officers come by this way, and we see a couple of the vehicles every now and again going through the lines and starting to peel off. But you can see from the amount of flashing lights still behind me. This is Maryland Parkway. We're right at the corner of University Avenue, so right in front of UNLV here, and this is still a very active scene, as you can see, which means an active investigation as they're going through now the different points of violence and where the suspect was, where he fired, and where eventually that person died. So that's what's going on. I did talk to one guy over here on the corner. He had been waiting for his fiance for all of these hours, and she just was cleared from a building and they were reunited. He didn't want to talk on camera. He said he had some privacy issues with that. And then there is another woman, I don't know, Mark, if you want to over here on the phone, she also didn't want to talk on camera. She's waiting for her daughter. She's in contact with her daughter. She knows her daughter's okay, but she's waiting to get her arms around her daughter, as so many parents and families have been doing throughout this afternoon. And now we head into the evening hours as dusk settles here over Maryland Parkway. But we'll keep watching the scene here and let you know if we get any new information, and we'll just stay in touch.
All right, Jim, thank you. That mother there on the phone, your heart just goes out to her. Again, she sounds like she's been in contact with her family. Our Tiffany Lane is over at the Family Reunification Center, over at the Convention Center. Tiffany, let's check in with you. What are you seeing from where you are?
Yeah, so we've been just continuously seeing more families arriving here at the Reunification Center now. I just spoke with the father who says he spoke with his daughter and she should be arriving here from Thomas and Mack Center shortly. So it sounds like there will be more buses coming. We saw a bus come about, I want to say, half an hour ago, and we've been seeing those families reunite with each other. A lot of hugs, tears, families just relieved to be able to see their children that they had been texting with and communicating with throughout the day, but just being able to physically be in each other's presence gives them that sense of relief. A lot of parents who I've spoken with who are waiting for their children to arrive say that there's a process that the students have to go through once they get here at the convention center. There's also those resources we shared once they get here, mental health resources, social service resources, a lot of different things that they have once they get here. But it's just right now just the waiting game. A lot of people just wanting to go home to just really process everything that happened at UNLV today. But seeing those families be able to embrace it is very touching, considering everything that has happened, and no idea on when those buses will be arriving. But again, it sounds like from what the parents are telling me, there are still several buses. We know one will be coming from Thomas and Mack, and we'll make sure to keep you updated.
Okay, Tiffany, thank you. It's going to be a very, very long night for investigators on the campus of UNLV. We believe that the shooter's body may still be inside the student union. We heard from a student and others that were walking out of the student union shortly after the shooting, and they saw the suspect's body lying on the ground. They handcuffed him, as is protocol. And one said that they noticed 4 bullet shots, bullet wounds to the back of the shooter's body there as well. Is that Tiffany?
Yeah, that's
still
Tiffany
here?
that we're hearing in the
Okay.
background as she's trying to talk to folks. But we're also waiting on word to find out more of the specifics of what happened here and how they were able, if it was in fact police, because we don't know yet who actually took down the suspect. We're told that we'll hear something here in less than 30 minutes from Metro. Let's go ahead and check in with Denise Ross. She is there waiting for them to open the doors. Denise, have you been able to learn anything since we last saw you when you were actually at the scene?
Yeah, no, we do know that there will be a news conference right here at Metro headquarters at 5 o'clock. We're just waiting for the doors to open right around 4:40 or so. As you've been reporting, Metro has already confirmed 3 fatalities, 3 victims killed in this shooting, 1 victim in critical condition, but the department will be releasing much more.
This is the perfect product for me.
Makes me feel so good.
I sleep better.
My mood, my energy feel amazing. Kachava, energy, an abundance of energy. I drive a tractor trailer, people. There's nothing healthy about being out here and being on a truck.
He's a regent with the Nevada System of Higher Education. You were on campus at UNLV when you were told to shelter in place. Can you just walk us back to that moment when you first realized that there was danger at UNLV? Laura, can you hear us? All right, we're having some issues with Laura right now. We'll try to do our best to get her back on the phone for you. But Laura, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Yes, you were on campus when you were told to shelter in place. Can you kind of take us back to that moment when you realized that something was wrong?
Well, I was on my way to campus and I was driving and just approaching the student union in conjunction with the RISE event happening today. I was one of the speakers, or supposed to be one of the speakers. It was surreal. There was sirens coming from every direction. Thank God for our first responders. Everybody responded so quickly. I really appreciate that about this, to make sure the students were safe. I just remember sitting in my car, and because everyone was blocked off, I would have had to walk quite a distance to get to the student union. I heard the bells go, and it was surreal. They said, if you can evacuate, evacuate now. We're going to evacuate people as quickly as possible and to remain safe and stay out of the area. That time I was sitting in my car, and I could see the officers in full gear running with, the SWAT teams running and getting things done and taking care of business and blocking off the roads. And so it was just surreal.
Laura, let me understand this. So they were telling you to run away from the active shooter situation, not to shelter in place. Is that correct?
I was going. They over the after they said if you can evacuate easily, then evacuate. But for the most part, I was not in the building. I was outside the building and in like the closest parking lot to the TAM Center.
But Laura, this obviously hits so close to home. You are a university regent. You've been with the university now since 2018. We're hearing from a lot of students who are understandably so shaken. And first, one of the things that we're hearing from a lot of them is that they just do not feel safe and returning to the campus. They're still so uncertain about that. What is your message to students who are going back home to their families and wondering about their future there at the university?
I would suggest that they seek counseling, which is available through UNLV, and also tonight, if they would like to come to the 5th Street School from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. to be around other individuals who have experienced the same thing, to just talk about it and grieve, because this is it's a tragedy, and so give people a chance to grieve. And I think, what can I say, rebel strong.
Rebel strong.
Rebel strong. Yeah.
Thank you, Laura Perkins, there for giving us your account of what happened through your eyes. Let's go ahead back to our Jim Snyder. He's been live at the scene now for a while, and you have someone that you just met that you want us to hear from.
Yeah, we've seen people trickle out, you know, kind of one by one, and I approach every person to find out if they'd like to talk on television. Many of them haven't, but Jenny here has graciously agreed to be with us. Jenny, thank you.
Thank you.
Glad you're okay. Tell us how this started for you. You first got the alert, and you were in your PhD student.
Yes,
You
yes.
were in a building that was, you thought, pretty far away from where.
Yes. It's a little bit far. I think like 15 minutes walk from that building. So I just stayed still. I didn't go outside.
And then you got more updates, and there was more information coming in.
Yes,
and is that
yes.
when you got more worried?
Yeah, a little bit worried because it showed active shooter and another additional shooter in the student union. So I feel a little bit scared at that time. But still, I just stay in the building because our building, we need to get the access and can get inside. So
Right.
I feel much better.
I'm hoping you've heard there's a lot of confusion usually at the beginning stages. Now
Yes.
it looks like there was just the one shooter who
Yes.
had moved to two different locations.
Yeah, no, I think based on the email, I think there should be two or something like that because it said it's an additional shooter.
Right.
So I just
think at one point
maybe-
they were looking to make sure.
But only one person?
Yes, only one person,
Okay.
and that person is deceased. Yes. So that's what the police are telling us officially now. And,
Okay.
Tell us, what was it like? Were you with a group of people when you were waiting and hiding?
No, we just stay in our building. I think it's a little bit safer.
Yeah.
Because,
How many people?
in our office, maybe 5 people. Yeah,
Okay.
5 persons.
And everyone stay.
Yeah,
calm
everyone stay calm. I think stay calm because we just thinking it's still under control. We don't need to worry about it because everyone, just like me, I still go to the lab and do some experiment. I just go back and forth from lab and the office.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And now going forward, you're supposed to be back here again working in the lab. Will you come back to the campus? Will you have fears about coming back?
And if I receive the email, it tells us it's already clear. I will go back tomorrow. I won't feel scared. But today, I may not go back.
I understand.
Yeah.
And you're just feet from home here. You're
Yeah,
walking
yeah.
home. All right, Jenny, thank you very much. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. So glad you're okay. So that's the view from somebody who was inside all afternoon waiting for police to finally come and clear the building that she was in. Reporting live here in front of the UNLV campus, I'm Jim Snyder. Back to you guys.
Yeah, Jim, thank you for that. So even Jim there clarifying
Right.
that confusion. She thought that there may have been 2 shooters, learning just now,
Right.
5 hours after the
Exactly.
first alerts went out, that there was only one.
Well, and I'm glad you brought that up because it was one shooter at 2 locations. They started at the business building, Beam Hall first. This man in his 60s shot, was an active shooter at that location, and then walked very close to the next building, which is the student union, and then was shooting there as well. And that's where the shooter was taken down, was inside the student union.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're clearing that up. And again, you know, when you're out there and in the thick of things, you don't always get the information.
The fog
So-
of war, they call it.
Exactly. Let's go ahead and turn now to our Tiffany Lane. Tiffany is still at the Reunification Center at the Convention Center here in Las Vegas, where they have families reuniting. And it looks like you've met one of those students who perhaps just arrived.
Yeah, so I'm actually here with Andre Casillas. So Andre, thank you so much for speaking with us. You're actually waiting for your brother Carlos to arrive. Talk about just your communication with him throughout today.
So initially he had called us earlier in the morning, right before everything had started. He was working out in one of the gyms on campus, and there was a big glass window, and he had noticed how there was a couple students running across. And, you know, he was a little frantic, and so he was like, hold on, give me a second. And he had said those 2 women had come in and basically said how there was active shooters. And, you know, he was nervous just as me and my mom were on a group FaceTime call. Actually, my mom was at work and I was at home. And, you know, it was just very frantic. He didn't really know what to do. And, you know, he was just calling us, trying to stay in contact. But in these situations, there's just so much chaos going on. And, you know, he's trying to send us text. And it's like everything wasn't going in his way. You know, his phone had died. And so me and my mom are just basically hoping and, you know, praying that everything's going to be okay. And we knew that he had a MacBook on him as well. So he's trying to message us off the MacBook. The MacBook dies, and it's just a bunch of different things. And we're basically just hoping for the best, hoping that, you know, we hear things, and we're trying to check news stations and everything, and we're not getting any reports. There's nothing coming out. So I'm over here scrolling through every social media imaginable with every hashtag of UNLV, anything I could find. And I'm just nervous, and I'm hoping for the best. And we're starting to see that there's, you know, people hurt, there's casualties, and I'm not hearing my brother's messages, and so it's really starting to be like worrying, you know. And luckily he was able to meet up with a friend who had a portable charger, and he was able to text us, and he just let us know, kind of the process of what was going on, how there's people coming into the gym, like law enforcement, and kind of guiding them to Thomas and Mack, and just going from Thomas Mack and going to meet here, basically get a shuttle to meet here.
Just that moment that you were able to finally hear from him, is there a sense of relief that came over you knowing that unfortunately there were some families that did lose their loved ones tonight?
I mean, it's honestly a bittersweet feeling. It's a terrible feeling, know that we're so close to the holidays, and that a lot of students aren't going to be able to go home and celebrate that with their loved ones. And it was a great feeling to hear from him, but it was also still that worry and anxiety that was still like, I'm not okay until I see him. And I've never run out of my house so fast to just drive here, and I'm on the phone with him just making sure that he's here. And it was a great feeling to know that he's okay, but it's also not, it hurts me deep down to know that there are families that aren't going to be able to have the kind of comfort that I'm going to have to see him right now.
And so you told me that his bus just left UNLV a few minutes ago. What do you think is going to be that moment that you finally see each other?
It's just overwhelming. He's honestly, I don't really have a father figure, and he's been my father figure growing up, and he's the one I've looked up to my whole life. And truthfully, the reason why I even applied to UNLV in the first place, because he's that person I look forward to seeing every day, and he's the person that I'm always going above and beyond to, make proud at the end of the day. So almost, sorry. So almost losing someone like that, it's just a lot, and I don't know where I'd be without him. So just not being able to have him here with me every day would do a lot to me. So it just means a lot to see him again,
Well, Andre, we're so glad that Carlos is okay, and I want to give you the time to be able to go and embrace him when he gets here. But thank you so much for speaking with us. I'm so glad he's okay. And I know that you had a very heartfelt message for those families that did lose their loved ones tonight. So for now, I'm going to send it back to you guys.
Thank you.
We've seen a lot of tears today, haven't we?
And it's so heartbreaking, and it just goes to show you, I mean, when we hear about these tragedies, you have to put them in perspective. These aren't just numbers. This isn't just an event that happened that you're watching play out. This is literally affecting lives. This is literally tearing apart people's futures, communities that are rocked and shaken forever. And so I thought what he said, it really brings it home that these are real people, and there are real consequences to the things that are happening. And thankfully, he will be able to hug his brother tonight. But there's a couple of families out there that won't get to do the same.
He called this bittersweet.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the point here, is that his brother survived. Right. And we've seen tears from people who have survived this. That's how traumatic it was. They made it through to the other side. But we have 4 victims that we know of right now. 3 were shot dead today by that active shooter, and 1 in critical condition. Those 4 families are going to look at this day quite differently than even those people who survived the day.
Right.
All right, so let's hear now from the Las Vegas Aces. They're issuing a statement tonight saying that they are heartbroken over today's horrific shooting at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Our thoughts are with all those impacted by the senseless act of violence, and our thanks go out to those first responders and medical professionals whose actions this afternoon undoubtedly saved lives. As the healing process begins for UNLV students, faculty, and staff, the ACEs stand committed to assist in any way we can.
Well, let's make sure we update everybody too. Metro is scheduled to hold a news conference here at 5 o'clock, so that's coming up in about 13 minutes from now, and we're expected to get a lot of fresh information from that news conference. Our Denise Raj is at Metro headquarters, and she will be taking us inside that room live as they give us the latest information on this.
Yeah, we're also getting some more reaction as well from those at the Las Vegas Convention Center where Tiffany Lane is, from people who were bussed over from the campus of UNLV. In fact, we talked to one woman who is an employee, also a UNLV student as well. She told us about the moments that she first learned about this active shooter situation on campus. Let's go ahead and listen into that.
We got one alert that there was shooting at BEH, and then we got another alert that there was at the student union. Those were just the university police alerts that got sent to us. And then we were just told to just shelter in place until they gave us like the all clear, the go ahead.
There in her voice, understandably.
Time and time again.
you know, just again, an overwhelming night, an anxious night. We are just a few minutes away now from this Metro Police Conference. Now we are approaching the 6th hour. This happened at 11:45. Students were there approaching their finals. They get word that there's an active shooter there on campus. People locked down for hours and now starting to finally reunite with their loved ones over there at the convention center.
Yeah, what a harrowing tale that so many people have told us. We've heard from people who weren't near the danger, still impacted by this, of course. And then we've also heard from folks who were in those buildings where those shots rang out. And we're now learning from police, they told us as we wait for that news conference to begin, that the suspect involved here is a 60-year-old male who is deceased. Sadly, 3 victims have succumbed to their injuries tonight. And we know that troubling days are ahead for their family members as they learn about that loss. There's still one person that we're holding out hope for who will survive this, that we've learned that is in critical condition at the hospital. And so a lot of people pulling for that person, a lot of people just holding their breath tonight, hoping that people will be able to come together to heal. We do know that something is going to be taking place tonight at the 5th Street Historic School there. So we were talking earlier to you, Marie, as one who often talks to the healing community about survivors, that this is a long road ahead. You were talking earlier about the help that is available. Can you speak more to that about what's next for these folks and the help that is, in fact, ready for them?
Well, let me go ahead and quote Dr. Sheldon Jacobs, who's the board president of the National Alliance of Mental Illness for Southern Nevada. Just recently, Nevada was added to the board, which speaks to just how mental health has been put up in the forefront here when it comes to our state. And Dr. Jacobs says the tragedy that occurred on the UNLV campus is beyond imaginable, and it has sent shockwaves throughout the Las Vegas community and beyond. And today, tomorrow, next week, and for a long time, many of us will struggle with what has happened in our community. But you are not alone. And he says that NAMI is here to help. So NAMI, they have the Nevada Warm Line where you can call or text. We also have 988, that number there on your screen. That is the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. You can also call and text for support. And going back to what you were saying earlier, Latoya, there is an event tonight at the historic 5th Street School. There will be grief counselors there, community leaders, all gathering from 7 to 8:30 p.m. and just offering a space, a place to be together and to talk and to be with one each other. Again, Vegas strong. It's the community that's coming together in many ways as we speak.
So on the left side of your screen there, you just saw Metro headquarters. We're expecting that news conference to start at 5 o'clock. So we're about 9 minutes, 30 seconds away if they start on time. And on the right side, you're looking at some of the images from earlier today around the campus of UNLV. There are a lot of questions that we don't have answers to yet, and we're hoping to get those at 5 o'clock. I don't know that every question will be answered, but we want to know the identity of the shooter, a man in his 60s. We would also like to know a motive, and maybe we won't get that tonight or ever. In the 1 October shooting, we still never received a motive there. We're also wondering about the victims, of course. That's where our hearts are tonight. The 4 people who we believe it was just 4 who were shot, 3 killed, 1 in critical condition. I don't know if we're going to get those identities tonight either. So more details coming our way here at 5 o'clock tonight. We have a lot of questions. We'll find out if we get many answers tonight.
Yeah, and it's interesting that the suspect here that's now deceased, 60 years old, so we don't know their connection with the university. Of course,
Right.
UNLV is an urban campus, and some consider it a commuter school, so he could very well be a student.
Exactly.
We just
or
don't
a staff
know.
member or a
member.
teacher or not associated with a college in
Right.
any way. That's a great point. We want to know those answers too, don't we?
Right, and a lot of people want to know why, but as you mentioned, sometimes you never know why. So let's go ahead back to Jim Snyder, who is at the scene. Jim, I know you've been meeting a number of people telling you horrific tales of what they were going through just hours ago, around after 11:45 when terror hit that campus. What have you learned since we last saw you?
Well, it's just absolutely stunned. Every person, there's kind of, I walk up to people and say, were you just released from the campus? And I don't even have to ask the question because you can kind of read it all over their faces. There's that sort of 1,000-yard stare that people talk about when they've been through something traumatic like this. And it's just really interesting to me how a spot in town, I'm at University of Maryland Parkway. I cut through here all the time. It's fun to drive down Maryland and see the UNLV students, coming and going, and how it all changes. Now it's just one big crime scene investigation scene and a parking lot for police vehicles from agencies with the state, with the county, with UNLV, the university system, and of course Metro as well. So there's not a whole lot of activity going on down here right now. I think a police car is getting ready to leave right here. He's backing out. We're seeing, I would say, maybe 20% of the vehicles have kind of peeled off and left, and motorcycles here, but many more still remain. And as you guys were just saying, this is an investigation that will be going on for hours into the night as the forensic teams come out, make all the measurements, and piece together exactly what happened here. And just like you, waiting to hear from the sheriff here at 5 o'clock to maybe get some more details about what happened. But that's what's going on Maryland Parkway. It's just a very, very somber place tonight. Not a lot of conversations going even among the police officers who are gathered in groups here and there. But we'll keep watching for people who are released as this campus is cleared, and ask them if they would like to talk with us and share those stories with you when we can.
All right, just a tough night for all of us. And Jim, we thank you for all that you're doing out there. And as we talk about the law enforcement presence and we're waiting for them to give us an update, it's important to remember they're going through their own sense of tragedy as well after losing 2 troopers just on Thursday. In fact, those funerals scheduled for Friday, another one for Monday. And so it really has been a very tough time for Southern Nevada.
And there was a candlelight vigil tonight being organized by the Injured Police Officers Fund, an organization that raises money for the families affected by tragedy. These law enforcement families, they have put off that event tonight in light of what happens today at UNLV.
A lot of changes today. They closed the campus, the campuses, plural, in Southern Nevada for CSN and UNLV, of course, any Institute of Higher Learning here in Southern Nevada. They shut down for the day today, and when they will reopen, we don't know. It could be tomorrow. That's a possibility.
Right.
And the UNLV men's basketball team was supposed to play in Dayton, Ohio tonight. They were in Dayton already, getting ready to go to the arena when they canceled the game out of respect to what happened on the college campus today.
Yeah, CCSD also put out that they canceled all sporting activities as well for the school district. So a lot of people grieving with UNLV tonight, and hearts are learn more. And of course, we're standing by hoping to get some more clarification. But as we know, we've all been covering these type of situations before over the years. There's nothing that can make sense of what is ultimately senseless. And so while we're cramming for that information, and we can't wait to find out, like, why would this happen, if they even know that at this point, we do know that that's not going to be enough solace. That's not going to be the type of closure that families who are getting horrific news are learning right now. I mean, I can't help but think back to that student that Tiffany was talking to. He said his brother is his everything. And one of the reasons why he wanted to go to UNLV, his brother is okay, yet he's breaking down because he just thought about what he could have lost. And yet we know there are families who are facing that unfortunate reality tonight.
Let's go back out now to Tiffany Lane, who's there at the Unification Center, at the Convention Center. And Tiffany, do you have another student there with you, or a family member?
So I actually have Letitia here. So I wanted to share a positive story amongst everything that's sad going on right now. So Letitia has a food truck here. Why don't you share the name of your food truck? And you're actually going around giving out water to impacted families, just providing a resource as they get here, just something you're voluntarily doing.
My food truck is Southern Comfort Foods. I'm normally posted at the Convention Center, and I was across the street, and when I heard that everyone was meeting over here, I was like, what can I do? What can I do? So I decided to just come out, bring some drinks, water, soda, whatever. You know, this is a time when the community needs to come together. We are Vegas Strong. We've shown that we're a resilient community. It's been a lot going on this week, and this is just one thing that I can do.
For you, just seeing those families that are finally coming together here, how important is it to provide any type of resource, whether it's the water or whatever it may be, as they're getting here, kind of that point where they feel comfortable and safe again?
No words. No words. It's just you just never know what people are going through, what any little gesture that you can offer, how it can impact them. So I'm just happy to be able to do it. I'm not grieving, I'm not stressed, you know, like so many other people are. So this is something that I can do easily.
And you were talking about just the significance of this is devastating at any time, but this is the holidays when families come even more together. How much of a challenge does that add to and the sadness to everything that's already going on?
It's major. This is a major impact for our community. You know, just the other day we lost 2 officers. Now this today, holidays are right around the corner. I mean, this is a time that our community just really needs to stand together and just show love to one another, that's all.
Were you, when you heard this, where were you when you found out about what happened, and what was your initial reaction? Could you believe it?
I was actually at the West Hall across the street, another part of the convention center, and I was like, no, not here. You know, because you see these things happening all over. You know, October 1 was something major for us, but never would I have ever thought that something like this would happen at UNLV. Never.
Do you have a message for the impacted families and students and staff?
Just God bless you all. I'll keep you in my prayers, and this too shall pass.
And how long do you plan on being here tonight?
I'll probably be here roughly for about another hour or so. As the crowd thins out, then I'll leave. But I just want to give out what I have, and once what I have is gone, then I'll leave.
Well, Letitia, thank you so much for being here for families that need whatever they can get at this point as support. But again, this is just another positive story. We do have other community groups that you have been speaking with tonight that are also coming together. And as Letitia mentioned, this is just showing that we are Vegas strong. But for now, I'm going to toss it back to you.
All right, thank you so much, and thank you to her for doing everything she can to help. And I think that's just another sign that we have so many great people in this community. She stopped what she was doing and said, I want to help, and she's trying to help in any way that she can.
Well, you were bringing it up after 1 October. How did people help? They all went down to donate blood. You remember those lines? People waited in hours, in line hours to give blood in our community after 1 October. They just wanted to help in any way they possibly could.
And they also brought food to the police stations, knowing that the police had lots of work as well. And look at this powerful moment. Let's just take this in.
Reunion.
Let's just take this in.
This is a reunion we're seeing from the Reunification Center at the Las Vegas Convention Center. And I think that's the young man that Tiffany was interviewing just a short time ago, and he was saying that his older brother is his everything. Right now, Metro is getting ready for the news conference. Let's take you to Metro headquarters right now and listen in.
Good evening. Thanks for coming. My name is Kevin McMahill, and I'm the sheriff of the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. First, I would like to reiterate to all of you that there is no more ongoing threat to our community here in Las Vegas. I also like to tell you that we do know the identity of the suspect in this case, but I will not be releasing his name tonight until after the next of kin notification. As you all know, of course, this is a tragic day for all of us in Southern Nevada. And at approximately 11:45 a.m., LVMPD dispatch received reports of an active shooter at the UNLV campus. UNLV campus police responded to the scene and engaged the suspect immediately right outside of Beam Hall. LVMPD officers also responded simultaneously. I can tell you today, 3 of the victims are confirmed deceased. There is a 4th victim who suffered a gunshot wound and is now currently in Sunrise Hospital, upgraded to stable condition. In addition to that, there were 4 additional people who were transported from the scene to nearby hospitals suffering from panic attacks. 2 of our officers were treated at UMC for minor injuries, which were received while searching the vast rooms and buildings for victims at UNLV. Our hearts go out to the entire UNLV community. No student should have to fear pursuing their dreams on the college campus. What happened today is a heinous, unforgivable crime, but I want y'all to know something. It's a crime that we train for each and every day. When there's an active shooter threat, the men and women of the Southern Nevada first responder community, police, fire, and EMS come together to respond quickly and decisively with zero hesitation. Within minutes, both on and off duty responders raced to the campus to prevent further loss of life. On a personal note, I'll tell you that after 1 October and all the time and effort and energy that we've put together in training with the men and women of law enforcement, the fire service, and EMS, watching how seamlessly they work together today made me very, very proud to be their sheriff. Importantly, there was a gathering just outside of the building where the students were playing games and eating food. There were tables set up for them to build Legos. And if it hadn't been for the heroic actions of one of those police officers who responded, there could have been countless additional lives taken. Armed confrontation of the suspect by law enforcement stopped the suspect's further actions. I'm proud of the courage of these officers and the UNLV campus police and how they demonstrated that today. And with that, I'm going to introduce the governor of the great state of Nevada, Joe Lombardo. Governor. Thank
you. Kevin, thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. I think it's important for people to realize the partnership that is formed as a result of my career at LVMPD and with Kevin, the sheriff himself, and the confidence that I was assured of when I got notified today. I had no doubt that the response would be appropriate, it would be swift, it would be quick, to the satisfaction of all the naysayers that we normally experience during critical incidents. And today, LVMPD did a fantastic job, along with the University PD did a fantastic job. And after the after action is settled here and our concern for the victims are bolstered and satisfied, I will be absolutely proud of the response of the first responders. I'll be absolutely proud of the community of UNLV, and I'll be absolutely proud of the community of Las Vegas and the state of Nevada. I had some formal comments to be said, but the important piece is I'm here to show the solidarity between the community and the law enforcement community and ensure on behalf of the state of Nevada, we are here to help provide resources to the benefit of the victims and to express my concern for the victims and favorable thoughts to the families and to ensure that we move forward as a society and as a community, and to assure the community we are doing everything within our ability to address these situations appropriately and with the knowledge that we have received on a continual basis. So, Kevin, thank you. I appreciate that, and I think it's appropriate that the chief of UPD comes up and says a few words in the positive response of his police department. So, Chief Alex Garcia, please.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Adam Garcia. I'm the University Police Chief. First of all, let me begin by telling you all how heartbroken we are on our campus for what happened today. On behalf of the Chancellor, the Board of Regents, and President Whitfield, I am passing along our profound sense of loss for what occurred in the loss of life that took place. As the sheriff said, our officers collectively, UPD as well as Metro, responded to call for shots fired approximately 11:45. Two of our detectives responded to the scene and immediately engaged the suspect in a shootout. The suspect was struck and is deceased at this time. The campus was almost immediately closed, and out of an abundance of caution, all Nevada System of Higher Education institutions in Southern Nevada were as well closed. UNLV will remain closed for the remainder of today, tomorrow, and Friday, and additional determinations will be made as to whether or not the university will reopen next week, which will be finals week. So with that, I will turn it over to Commissioner Gibson.
Thank you, Chief. I'm Jim Gibson, the chairman of the Clark County Commission, and I'm here to express the shock that we all felt as a community, but at the same time, the enormous relief that we feel as a result of the great work of the first responders. We want everyone to know that anyone who has been affected will have the resources available to them to ensure that they have an opportunity and a way, a pathway to work through whatever the effects have been. My colleagues on the County Commission, indeed all of us in Clark County, express our support to the university and the folks who've been affected over there. We know that this will not know the entirety of the effect of all of this for some time, but the one thing that is certain, which was spoken, I think, a few minutes ago, is that without the incredibly well-trained and effective response that was provided, a whole lot worse situation could have happened. For those who suffer loss under the circumstances, the worst has happened for them. And as a community, we need to make sure that we're mindful of them. We need to keep them in our prayers, and we need to respond in every other way that we possibly can in order to meet the needs that are so great at this time, this kind of a thing, and at this time in our lives here in this county. And now I would turn it over, the microphone over to Chief Steinbeck, who will talk just a little bit about what some of the resources are that are available. Chief?
Thank you, Commissioner. Appreciate it. Adam, great job. Thank you very much, and great job by LVMPD and certainly all the participating agencies there. Yes, immediately we started to go ahead and we had people that aren't there on scene start to build up the resources for the recovery. Recovery starts actually before the incident even begins, and certainly as the incident unfolds. So we do have over at the Las Vegas Convention Center in the North Hall, we have opened up a family assistance center there. It's similar to the one that we opened up after 1 October, obviously smaller in scale, but ready to provide many of the same services, which include behavioral health services. UNLV has student services there. We have religious leaders there. Legal Aid of Nevada is there. Any resources that we might find necessary, whether they're immediate or in the long term, as the commissioner said. Also at the Vegas Justice and Resiliency Center, that'll be open. That is the center that was opened up following 1 October, a long-term resiliency center that is also ready to assist those in need, and will take over the long-term recovery operation following the immediate reunification and the services that are provided at the Family Assistance Center. You can access those services in person or online, and the online is at the FAC, which stands for Family Assistance Center, FAC of southernnevada.org. You can also call 211, in which you'll be directed over to the call center, or the direct call to the call center is 702-455 AIDE, AID, or 702-455-2433. And so those numbers are available for all those services. Again, as was spoken before, hearts go out to the families. Certainly wasn't lost. They're on the scene after it was de-escalating. That college means a lot to us, right? And that's where I went. That's where my wife went. That's where my children went. So hearts go out to UNLV and certainly any of the families of the people that have been affected by this. Thank you.
Excuse me, I apologize. My co-host Scully, he's smoking a cigarette right now. I can't allow that.
I'm Carolyn Goodman, Mayor of the City of Las Vegas. And after all these years and the tragedies that have happened around our country, but right here, it's something for the families that we've lost, who've had this tragedy, bespeak everything that is not good about our country. what's wrong and how we have to teach our children to handle stress and be able to work through anger and hate in other ways. I don't have the particulars of who we have lost. I think this is all with the sheriff. I know our first responders were incredible, all facets of law enforcement immediately pulling together, and I'm so grateful and proud of them. I do have someone very close to me who was out on the campus at the time, and want to commend the security out at UNLV for their instantaneous reaction and calming those who could be calmed and making the lockdown bearable with all that fear. The fear that permeated every one of those children, every one of those professors. It's a very difficult time, and it's time for us, as the adults, enough. It is enough. And it is people filled with anger or not understanding how to handle disappointment in their lives that they become even more hateful and full of anger and take lives of others. So my condolences on behalf of the entire city and the community to those we've lost, those families that are so distraught and lost today and in the future. And Sheriff, I must commend you. And Sheriff, former Sheriff Lombardo, you did set this up. And Sheriff, thank you. What a tragic time for us. But it's a time to make it a positive and do something. We must fix this now. And allowing me to speak. Thank you, Sheriff. And congratulations.
As soon as I listened to the comments of the other speakers, it took me back to when the sheriff or the undersheriff and I were over at the scene and watching as we had to go through floor by floor, room by room, building by building. And I've seen some of the commentary about how long this has taken. But just like in 1 October, numerous other calls were coming in about different shootings that were occurring. We're having to breach every single door. We're finding groups of students that were huddled. It took us a long time to evacuate and then recheck. We will be conducting this investigation into the wee hours of the morning, there is no doubt. I know you have an insatiable appetite like I do to find out why, to understand motivation, and we will provide that to you at the appropriate time. But with that being said, I'd just like to end on the fact that we watched a lot of fear across the faces of those young men and women at UNLV today. And it's unfortunate that they had to live through that. But again, I'm proud of that first responder community for getting over there and doing that. So with that, I'll take a couple of questions.
Aww.
So you have to tell me who's talking. I can't see. Hi, Dana. Not yet, Dana. I just want to reserve until I have a little bit better information on exactly what was used. We haven't moved the body yet. I don't have any details on the weapon yet, but we will provide that to you.
What's the affiliation of the victims to UNLV? Were there students, professors, staff?
I'm not prepared to release that information yet either. Like I said, I know you guys are hungry for that, but we haven't been able to run each and every one of those leads down, and I don't want to provide you misinformation at that. Ricardo, last one.
Did the shooting originate outside, or did it begin outside, and about how long were shots fired?
It originated on the 4th floor of that beam building, went to multiple floors, and the suspect was neutralized on the outside by the UNLV Police Department. So we'll be providing you the next news conference information as we get it. Thanks for coming.
All right, so we were just briefed by Sheriff McMahill there, as well as UNLV Police Chief, and we've learned a lot of things. They still haven't said who the suspect is, but they do know the person's identity. They're waiting on notification of next of kin. What was really interesting, we kept wondering up until we heard from one of the witnesses at the scene who said that he saw 4 gunshot wounds, according to him, to the back of the suspect. We still haven't had that confirmed, but what we do know is that University Police actually engaged that suspect, they say, immediately, and they were able to take him down. And at some point before that, there was some sort of shootout. What I also thought was interesting is they talked about how many students, there was an event apparently on the campus today, and so a number of students were outside. So thankfully, we're not seeing more loss of life here, but sadly, we are getting it confirmed tonight, 3 deceased, 1 person still in the hospital with a number of injuries.
It sounded amazing how fast the police response.
Yes.
We've been calling it swift. I don't think we
Right.
realized how swift it was until we heard from the authorities tonight that we had campus police officers responding immediately. 2 detectives arrived on scene very shortly after shots rang out. And because of that, I think they were able to reduce the loss of life tonight.
And we also heard their frustration that we're even dealing with this in the first place. In fact, the sheriff said he called it heinous and an unforgivable crime. We also could feel the pain that Mayor Carolyn Goodman was feeling as well when she talked about she knew someone who was close to her on campus at the time of this incident, and just talking about how enough is enough.
Yeah.
And also back to UNLV, it remains closed through the weekend, and there are questions now whether it will reopen for finals week, which is next week. Not only is it a very somber, heartbroken place, but it's also an active crime scene as well. The sheriff saying that they will be there through the overnight hours going over the scene.
He also mentioned, too, that the suspect's body remains on campus. They still haven't removed it. And we heard from eyewitnesses who say, in addition to seeing 4 gunshot wounds to the back of the suspect there, they also saw the suspect handcuffed. So that's something that they do. That is protocol. Even if the suspect is down, they want to make sure that they are not a threat going forward. So they will handcuff even suspects in this condition.
Yeah, and so obviously they're taking their time. You heard Sheriff McMahill also talking about how they had to be painstakingly secure in all of this, going floor by floor, room by room, making sure not only did they evacuate certain buildings and certain rooms, but they also had to recheck everything just to make sure that everyone was safe. Our Brett Forrest was actually on campus. He was sheltered in place. He was actually there for another assignment when all of this started to happen. He's joining us now with more. And Brett, when you hear what the sheriff's office is telling us and hearing from our leaders talking about how horrible and horrific this is, as someone who was there, describe to us what it was like for you.
65-year-old
To be completely
man.
honest, we cover these shootings over and over again, but I'm always on the other side. So to have to shelter in place myself with my photographer, Jay, who's still with me, I was admittedly scared in the early minutes when I first realized this is real. When the room I was in the foundation building on campus. I feel safe saying that now, obviously, but students were pouring in, yelling that there's a shooter, active shooter. And of course, I thought, maybe that's not right, but we should go check it out. And then they said, no, we have to shelter in place. And then it set in that this is real. We started getting the UNLV campus text alert systems confirming it. I started seeing the Metro Police updates as well. So when I saw that, I started shaking a bit. I was scared. I've never been in this situation. I know it's a generational thing. Part of my generation, I didn't grow up having to do the lockdown practices in school, so it was my first experience going through that. And I will say the college students I was with, about 2 or 3 dozen of them, they remained calm for the most part from what I saw, because I hate to say they likely grew up kind of practicing this exact situation. But it was a frightening experience, but we are safe. We were in there about 4 hours total until the police finally came to our building to evacuate us out. The students were taken to the Thomas and Mack basketball arena, and then I was able to come out here finally. But I was just glad that everyone I was with was safe, and my heart goes out to UNLV and the students and those affected, because these students I interviewed earlier for that other assignment you mentioned, they graduate in 2 weeks, and now they have this heavy in their hearts, I'm sure.
So your photographer, Jay Aguilar, was also in that room with you today, and we heard from him on live television. He even got emotional as he was thinking about his wife and his children, and he just wanted to make sure he was going to be able to see them again, and he wasn't sure of that. Did you have those thoughts as well? Were you sure that you were going to make it out of this alive, or did you have your doubts?
As I mentioned in the early moments, I did have my doubts when the reality set in that this was not a drill or misinformation, that it was indeed real. And I hate to say, my mom might be watching. I didn't let her know what situation I was in. I didn't want her to worry, so I did not tell her what was happening. I'm sure she's heard by now. So, Mom, I am safe. But you know, I'm sure it was going through everyone's heads. One student I was near, a woman. So if she's a senior, I'm guessing, you know, maybe 2021. I heard her on the phone begging her other friend to check on a friend. I heard her saying, he doesn't have a phone with him, go make sure he's safe, drive your car over there. And so that was, in the early moments, that's what these students were going through, checking whatever they could to try to figure out what was going on, but also if their friends around campus were safe.
Such a dynamic scene still behind you, Brett. What's going through your mind now? Now you're off campus, but you're still there on the streets. The investigation continues. You just heard from the sheriff that this is going on into the early morning hours. The campus is still off limits. So much to take in. How are you processing all that?
It's very surreal.
Over there. 6 o'clock.
No, I didn't live here when 1 October happened, but Jay, my photographer, immediately when we finally got out of that shelter in place, said this reminds him exactly of that scene. It has started clearing out a little bit, but yeah, you can see behind me, it is still just a heavy police presence. So just to be in that small room I was in for 4 hours and to come out and actually see what was happening was just a very surreal experience. I just don't even know what other word to use, because it's just, I don't know, you hate to see it happen. And I do want to say this is something that the students I talked to in the room I was in over and over, they kept saying, you know, you don't think it's going to happen, or you think it only happens far away until it happens to you. And I think that's exactly what I'm feeling right now, too.
Right. And we also heard from some students, Brett, who said that they don't want to go back to campus. You know, they're not going to look at their school the same. I would imagine, as someone who has reported on tragedy after tragedy, often we meet people on their worst days of their lives. Do you feel like this has forever changed you, even as a journalist, in how you approach these type of events?
I think it has to, right? It's, I mean, you can't really say it's a once-in-a-lifetime event anymore, unfortunately, just with how common and frequent these are. But for this to be my first time being here in the middle of it, yeah, it's going to hang with me for a while. I'm kind of getting emotional now just thinking about that question. But yeah, it's tough. And I can't imagine what these students are going through, because so many are probably from Las Vegas. So they probably went through 1 October themselves. They probably lived here for that. So, yeah, I just can't imagine how they feel. I mean, if this is how I feel, I just can't imagine how these students here feel.
Yeah, wow. The emotions dripping out of Brett Forrest, who's been on a lot of horrific crime scenes here in the Las Vegas Valley, and your emotions are understandable tonight. Thank you for sharing with us, and I know it's part of your job as a journalist, and normally you're reporting on these stories, and today Brett Forrest became part of the story, so we thank you for that.
Human first. Right.
Yeah.
You know, these are raw, very real feelings, and Las Vegas is feeling it tonight. Southern Nevada is certainly feeling it. Again, we're hearing these reminders of 1 October. Let's go back out to now Jim Snyder, giving us another perspective there from where you're standing outside of UNLV as well. Jim, obviously very heavy from your location too.
No doubt about it, Marie. And yeah, we're right on Maryland Parkway here at University, and Maryland is still blocked off for many blocks to the north and many blocks to the south. We are seeing police vehicles like that one kind of peel off from the scene, sometimes in small groups, but the majority of them are still here. And something else we just had confirmed by Sheriff Kevin McMahill is that the shooter's body is still on campus where that person was shot and killed. And as we're finding out more about the timeline about this, it sounds like it was the 4th floor of that Beam Hall where the shooting started. And once the shooter was down outside of the building, campus police and then Metro police engaged with the shooter, and that's when the shooter was killed. So that was new information that we got from that press conference just a little bit ago. I was just talking to somebody here who's watching and waiting with everyone else, who's involved generally in the campus security area and has been working with UNLV leadership on questions about security and keeping the campus safe. And he was just telling me that obviously this will be a big reset on that conversation now after what they've learned from what happened today and best steps moving forward. So our hearts break every time we hear about these shootings in schools or in shopping centers or churches or wherever else people gather. And as we know here in Las Vegas, it's a special kind of pain when it happens right here in our community. You've heard so many people talk about the long family history they have with UNLV and generations going to school here, like our Denise Rosh, and this has just been a central part of our community for all these years. And so to have it happen here, it sure does hit hard. But we'll continue to watch as this investigation unfolds down here on Maryland Parkway, right in front of UNLV. I'll toss it back to you guys now.
All right, Jim, thank you.
Yeah, it's one of those things. We all started just thinking it's going to be a typical Wednesday.
Right.
Just like those students there going to class, probably complaining about, I have to do finals soon and I'm ready to go home for winter break.
That's
and
some
now
old age
many
dude.
of them questioning if they'll ever step foot on
just
a
wants
college
to
campus
go
there
ahead,
again. And I just can't help but to think about my own college experience. Loved it so much I didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
And you know, now they're faced with being afraid of something that really should be a time to still be youthful before you have to have the normal responsibility that comes to adults. But they're dealing with life and death issues for something that should just be a time of revelry and a time of learning and a time of growing and becoming the person that you want to become.
Yeah, and obviously this is a day that will live with them forever, right? And it will shape them in some ways, and everybody, and Marie, you were talking about this, everybody will be different in how they handle this, for sure. And we're just hoping that the students that need help get help. We also heard that 4 people on campus were taken to the hospital with panic attacks.
Right.
So we know people were hit by gunfire, 4, but 4 others were taken to the hospital with panic attacks. And it doesn't surprise me at all, with all of the interviews that we've heard throughout the day today, people are traumatized.
No doubt.
It
Re-traumatized
ain't-
as well from
They do know.
1 October.
They
and
just
as we have
haven't,
now 30 seconds left here on this broadcast before we
they
send
just
off to nightly
haven't
news. We're showing you these images from the
put it out
reunification
yet,
center.
Gene.
People hugging, embracing on the phone with their loved ones, reaching out to them, letting them know that they are okay. A bittersweet night, as we've heard, because we also know that 3 families are also knowing that 3 of their own will not be coming home.
Lots of healing left to do.
Yeah,
but
they
be
haven't put it
encouraged
out
that
yet.
your community stands behind you.
Nah,
the
they're,
Resiliency Center says it will be here for the long term to help anyone in any way needed.
They're
That
not
is next.
they're
We'll see it.
not apparently they're not going to say it just yet. I don't know. Just, yeah, I guess so. I mean, if you know, more than likely. Yeah, I'm glad I muted that up. Let's go ahead and do this. I don't know. This is just a crazy, horrible, bad situation. I mean, I guess that's what they're doing. They're probably scrubbing anything, more than likely, because probably again, like that other guy, sure the signs were there. You know. Yeah, I didn't get it that quick, though. I don't know how quick. I got a bunch of stuff that I got to go over. Well, it's crazy because it's just this whole thing's crazy. This might be like one of the weirder ones. All right. Thank you. I appreciate you. Yeah, this is definitely one of the weirder ones I've covered because I've never seen I don't know, maybe he's one of the first, I'm thinking, 65-year-old, 60-something-year-old man just goes in and does something like this. It's, dude, like, this doesn't even make any sense. Yeah, it's weird like that sometimes. Yeah, it's an older cat, you know. And notice they're hit and miss, hit or miss. I don't know. I appreciate you though. I appreciate you coming through. Could be. We, with them being so tight-lipped about it. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I don't suggest making it a I'm just saying in general, not for me, but I don't know. This is definitely more than likely going to be probably one of the last one of these that I cover because I don't normally cover these I don't normally cover these mass casualty things and what you call it. It just kind of turned out that way. And I'm gonna be honest. It's not gonna be my this isn't my forte. I'm not gonna keep doing this. That it is just, there's plenty of content there. It's just not the content that I want to do, and it's not what I want to cover. I don't 99% of the shit that I do I don't want to cover. Some of it's necessary. I don't pick the content, honestly. The content picks me, and I don't know. I go with it. I give my opinion. I just report on the situation and what I'm saying, and keep it pushing. I definitely don't want to keep people in a horrible loop of just insane bullshit. That's the last thing I want to do. I want to create a strong community of people who want to create, collaborate, and do other things. This isn't what I want to do permanently with my channel. Do I want to touch on these subjects and talk about them? Absolutely. I don't want to just sit here, watch these people, watch these things unfold, watching all these horrible. It's just it's not good for anybody. I know it's not good for me, and I know for a fact. It's not that I know for a fact. All right, I got a life too. Just because I'm not up here talking about it, I got some pretty horrible shit going on in my life. I'm not covering this shit because I need horrible shit to keep me going. Some people need that. I don't. I personally don't. I got some pretty horrible shit that's damn near newsworthy in my own life. I'm not going to come up here and talk about that, especially when there's things like this going on in the world that really make my situation look minuscule, because it's just the facts. It's just the facts. I'm not with that coming up here on YouTube talking about my situation and saying, "Oh man, this and that." Like, I just want to I don't know. I want to bring good things, and yeah, I mean, you're not really going to see. You're more than welcome, and you know, but you're not going to see too much of. You know, I got some funny stuff on there with the shorts and things like that. This is all a process. This is a process. Like doing that you story. That you story is like, I'm on the edge with it. Like I don't want to. Do I want to put the information out there? Absolutely. But do I want to do it and hurt other people? Nah, that's not my thing. I mean, like, I probably doxed the shit out of a bunch of people that didn't deserve it. And when I say deserve it, like people that deserve it, I don't think anybody really deserves to get doxed. But some people, like, I don't care. If you're an SO, you're getting, like, if I got paperwork on you or it's obtainable, whatever, then more than likely I'm going to put it out there. You know, I have no remorse for it. I show my face doing it. You know, it's just that is the only time I feel like it's somewhat okay. Even then, I feel like I'm hurting. There's a good possibility that you know, something. I don't want to hurt. I don't want someone in their family getting hurt because of what they did, right? And I definitely don't want a part of that. You know, it's just, you know, it is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. Things take time. Things just take time, and I don't know. But so enough my bullshit rambling. I hope you enjoyed this horrible experience. I don't even know what to say. Hey, if you knew the shit that went on today, Justin, you would understand, man. You would understand. Boo. All right. So, it's late. Well, it's not that late, but it's late enough. It's late enough. And I appreciate everybody that came in. Gene, I appreciate you. Really appreciate you. Whoever else was in here stopped in while I was putting a few things together. There's obviously nothing popping off in the chat, but it is what it is. Have a great night. Enjoy the rest of your night. And I'll see you at the next horrible event. Maybe I'll be able to bring you something good. But yeah. Definitely getting an offer here. For sure. All right. Have a great night, Gene. Thank you. And that's my cue to end the stream.